I'm reading a book right now called Oscar Wars, which goes into the history of the Academy Awards, particularly like behind the scenes stuff that led to things like why Shakespeare in Love won over Saving Private Ryan for Best Picture. Also, it goes really in depth on the Rob Lowe Snow White fiasco of the late 80s. Not to mention the arrival of the new wave boomer generation of filmmakers, like throwing the old guard off the with pictures like Easy Rider and Midnight Cowboy, and of course, like the great Oscar snubbing of Citizen Kane and Orson Welles in general. This book is a really fun read and a reminder that award shows aren't about rewarding the finest artworks made. Award shows are about boosting an industry. Adding awards to things gets really confusing in this way because it causes us to treat art like a competition. And even if you take the Oscars away, film people are always in competition over like what's the best film, just objectively, like which director is the most inventive, which screenplays really truly are well-crafted masterpieces. But I always go back to the question of like, why do we like stories? Some stories inspire us, some stories change our minds, some stories make us really look at ourselves. They make us laugh, they make us cry. You know what though? Some stories are just fun, like wizards zapping each other, spacemen fighting aliens, college kids conducting house party antics, ghosts creeping out new homebuyers. Many of these stories leave us with nothing more than 2 hours of a good time and then they're gone. And I think that's perfectly fine. A good comedy need only tell good jokes. A good romance need only make us feel love. A good horror need only to scare us. Anything else those movies do is artistic gravy. But there's pressure on us to make art bigger than it actually is. Think about the number of paintings in this world, though, and then the number of paintings that are in museums. It is a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a percentage. Most paintings just hang in homes because they look nice. They match the rug. They need never have to have like 14 coffee table books written about these artists. The same can be said with this week's film Underworld from 2003. And listen, this movie spawned sequels and a rich lore and world building. It was very successful, but that original film has only a 31% on Rotten Tomatoes, but it's fun, stylish, and easy to watch. It's over the top, and it brought me fun for 2 straight hours, which is way more than I can say for The English Patient, which won an Oscar and has an 86% on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics. These days, I'm just trying to find movies that are fun. They don't need to be important, just fun. And for the record, Underworld on Rotten Tomatoes also has a 79% audience score. Hi, Cecil.
Hi, Jeffrey.
What's your favorite, like, critically panned movie? Like, a
Oh
movie that
dear.
it's a movie you like.
I mean, I feel like the Rocky Horror Picture Show is quite fun. That
Oh,
is
yeah.
universally critically panned. But I mean, like, honestly, we make this podcast. So, like, a lot of the
Hmm.
movies that we cover are movies that the critics have been like, I'm not even going to bother with this.
Hmm.
Or if they do bother, the sort of Roger Eberts of the world, who are great film critics, are like, this genre is terrible because
Yeah.
it is empty calories in their mind.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, horror, I think of all the genres, probably has the worst, like, critic to audience
Yeah.
ratio
Yeah. It's
of
like
like
horror and then maybe like sex comedy.
sex comedy or yeah, like the really deep genred stuff, like a true, not
Yeah.
even a
And then
rom-com, but
Hallmark and then Hallmark Christmas movie.
right, right. That's totally it. That's totally it. I mean, that's kind of why I wanted to do the show because I think I'd always been of the mindset that like, horror movies felt schlocky and silly to me,
Yeah.
and because I couldn't access the joy that other people seem to get from the schlocky whatever aspects of horror genre, wanted to explore that. And it is funny the number of times when I look up horror movies. I told you recently I was on Rotten Tomatoes looking up like what are the best horror movies on of 2024, and a
Okay.
few of them I had seen, and then I went to one that wasn't really a horror. I won't name it here, but it wasn't even really a horror movie at all. But it was like 95%, and it was like sort of horror adjacent, but it really just
Hmm.
was like a smarty pants art house depressing movie about patriarchy. And I was like, this is a good film, but like this is where critics are like, yeah, this is the horror I like.
Oh, of course.
It didn't
Well, that's
scare me.
that.
It
I mean,
made me
that's the
feel
age.
things.
That's the age we're in. You know, we're in the age of thesis horror, in which
Yes.
horror can't just be a bunch of vampires and werewolves shooting at each other.
Right, right.
No, no, no. That's too basic. We did that in the 2000s.
Uh-huh.
Now it's got to be like a metaphor for, I don't know, systemic racism or
Yeah.
generational trauma.
This one was about patriarchy. Yeah.
It
So,
was.
yeah.
Well, I
Well,
mean,
not this movie, but the one I saw. Yeah.
oh, okay, gotcha. I mean, this movie also about patriarchy.
Yes, it is.
I mean, I like this movie, and I feel how dumb I was. I had to watch this movie like twice, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
before I realized it was Romeo and Juliet.
Right.
I was so dumb. And I was like, and by the time I watched it again, because we're probably like on cable or something like that, or something, like they even Kate Beckinsale even shoots up a bust of William Shakespeare.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I was like, oh, duh, Cecil.
Yeah.
Of course. So honestly, it's kind of a tale as old as time.
Mm-hmm.
Two camps of people that don't like each other
Yeah.
and young lovers fall in love
Mm-hmm.
with some weird DNA genetics and some handguns thrown in there and some very definite how do werewolf work.
Do you bite your thumb at me, sir?
I do, sir, but I do not bite my thumb at you, sir. I
I
bite off my thumb in this case.
That's right. Yeah, this is so 2003.
Oh, isn't it though?
I'm now thinking about I want to just make a list of every single year and just the movie by year, one movie per year that if you said that movie's title, you know what year it came out in. Like
Oh, sure.
Phantasm is 1979 all the
Yeah.
way,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and this is so 2003.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is all digital. It is all CGI. It is dark as shit.
Oh yeah, like there's not a single frame that takes place in this movie during the daylight,
No.
except for the one time the sun is used as a weapon to kill that lady vampire back in the old
Hmm.
days. That's it.
And also, like our heroine of Celine, played by Kate Beckinsale, is this was kind of the coming out of the era of like Laura Croft Tomb Raider sort of
Yes.
thing. Like the
Yeah.
idea of I don't this movie I don't believe is based off of a video game, but it does feel like the badass, sexy heroine video game sort of character.
Sort of.
Hmm.
Apparently, there was I think, an RPG tabletop game
Okay.
that sued the fuck out of this movie
Oh no.
and settled out of court for an undisclosed sum. But yeah, the author of that game was like, excuse me,
So not officially based
not
off of a
officially.
game,
Yeah, yeah,
but yeah, the sexy badass heroine
yeah,
was really becoming popular in the 90s and on
yeah.
into the aughts as well.
Like, and I remember a lot of people watched this and they were just like, wow, it's amazing how like Kate Beckinsale is the one with all the guns and super hunky Scott Speedman is sort of damseled throughout
Yeah.
this entire movie.
Hmm.
And they were like, oh, look how progressive we are.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Feminism.
Yeah.
Well, it's a fun movie and it starts on a dark and stormy night.
Oh, so much.
Celine hunched up atop a tall Gothic building, not unlike
Just
a
Batmaning
gargoyle.
out.
Yeah,
Just,
totally Batmaning. And what we know from her voiceover was that, we have these immortal vampires who are
uh-huh.
kind of the royalty of society.
Yes.
There are
Yes.
a few clans of vampires throughout the world, but
There always are.
and they have a real balance in the world because their longtime enemies were the Lycans, the werewolves v. the vampires. And the Lycan leader, Lucian, had been killed. So the Lycan horde basically just scattered to the wind, as she says.
Yep. That's it.
She says the line, "Victory, it seemed, our birthright was in our grasp." And like the use of the word birthright is really strong.
Ooh, I know, right?
Um, but the Lycans were evolving, so they're now noticing the Lycans seem to be back in fashion, and we're on the hunt for them. And she is part of this like elite uh, killing crew.
She's like the KGB of
Yes,
vampires.
the KGB, the Mossad, the CIA.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
she's a death dealer. Is what they name this. So I really appreciate the fact that they're not like the KGB. or the CIA. It's like, no, we're
Yeah.
death dealers.
No, no, that's what we're called in Vampire Town.
She's watching a situation where she sees two very suspicious men following another man through the streets, and she's sort of identifying them as possible lichens.
How,
I think
Jeffrey?
I,
Could you tell me how?
she has lichen dar.
Because the only thing I saw was just like, well, they're the only two without umbrellas, so we can see their faces.
Yeah. Yeah,
But they're
that's
like,
true.
oh, possible lichen. I was like, is it just that they're wet and angry?
It's also very 2003 that we're still doing profiling
Oh,
as a
yes.
good police tactic. I mean, we're still doing it today. We just are more critical of it, I guess.
Hmm.
Um, love her jump down into the streets.
The sort of like, the like bat jump.
The
You,
bat jump and like landing on like 2 feet and one fist, crouched down.
yes. Uh-huh.
I think for
And
me,
then
it's the way
also,
she gets up and walks away from it
oh
is
yeah,
really smooth.
shows off those club kid boots.
Man, so gothy, so
Like
good.
the most. This is, I mean, this really is like, there's so many times I was like checking out her outfits, the other vampires. I love the idea of the other vampires that are just like eternally sitting around this parlor
Uh-huh.
just forever,
Yep. We were
gossiping about each other.
right before we started, you had brought up that the Evanescence was wanting to be part of this movie and soundtrack, and that their label wouldn't let them do it. And like, if Evanescence, the band, was a movie, it would be
Yeah.
Underworld
Yeah,
2003. Yeah.
exactly.
So we also see Scott Speedman working his way through this crowd down onto the subway platform. We saw Scott. This is a very different film tonally from the last Scott Speedman movie we saw for this, which
Wait,
was
wait, what was he in last time?
he was in The Strangers
Oh,
with
that's right.
Liv Tyler, the
Yes.
home invasion movie, which was
Yes.
much more of like a slow burn,
Hmm.
quieter role. But yeah, these lichens are following him, and we go immediately into just a massive shootout on a subway platform.
Like just a blanket of bullets. So clearly, these vampires and werewolves do not give a fuck whether the humans know they exist or not.
I had that question immediately, which was what? Because later, Scott Speedman, Michael, the character Michael, has to be explained like there's a
Hmm.
society of vampires, a society of werewolves. How does this shootout get investigated by human police
Right?
and the human media? So, yeah, opening fire. Celine's vampire buddy gets shot down,
Uh,
but it is interesting when he gets shot, she notices that he kind of like burns up.
yeah, turns blue from the inside.
Yeah.
And
And gets
that
real
seems
crispy.
new.
Hmm. Some bystander gets shot in the process, and Michael, Scott Speedman's character, goes to help her. Celine, one of the lichens tries to grab him, and she shoots the lichen off of him. There is one giant werewolf guy.
Hmm.
I keep Blaze,
Yeah, Rays, I think.
Raise. Yes, that's it.
The man with the deepest voice in the entire world.
Oh my God. Did they pitch his voice down?
No,
That
no.
is that
I
man's voice.
That is that man's voice.
Unbelievable. Yeah, again, like, I'm not going to go through every beat of this action sequence, but it's a fucking wild ass action sequence, like
So
diving
many
through train
bullets.
windows and.
So many bullets, Jeffrey.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, I like that this movie does a good job. Like, you see them having to reload
Yes.
quite frequently, which is, kind of a Hollywood movie trope. But oh my God, they're shooting at each other like bullets grow on trees.
Hmm.
It's not really like a taut sniper kind of. It's more of a just spray shot anything and everything, and maybe one will hit your target.
Yes. I couldn't help but to think about I think it's in The Wire, in the TV show The Wire. There's a moment where one of the guys is one of the guys on the street was like holding his pistol sideways. And I'm like, man, don't hold your gun like that. Like brace the gun. Like that's
Yeah.
gonna. But he's like, it looks cooler this way. And it
Hmm.
was like kind of the first like Hollywood deconstruction of the Hollywood tactic of making gunfire look cool. And here, Celine has two pistols, one in each hand, firing away. And like use one hand to brace the shot, and you'll use half the bullets and kill twice the people.
Yes. Yeah. A little bit of aiming goes a long way,
Yeah, it
but
really
not in
does.
Underworld.
Nope. Yeah, this the science in this movie is wild.
And it happens so fast too.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, we found this crazy bullets. Oh, we just made some more crazy bullets.
Yeah. Yeah. So she finds one of the Lycan's guns and finds, yeah, these glowing blue bullets and takes them back to, she's going to take them back to the vampire castle and go talk to Khan, who is
Yes.
played by Robbie G.
He's
Uh,
he's the Q of this
yes,
universe.
he's the weapons master.
Uh-huh.
And they basically have used uh, their ultraviolet bullets, so it weaponizes sunlight against the
Oh,
vampires.
but come on, that's a glow stick. You're just shooting glow sticks at each other, you goth nerds.
Nerds. Also, while she's down in the pit, like following this rays, this giant wolfman, she hears up through a subway grate. There's some kind of like secret gathering of the wolf
Uh-oh.
people.
Sounds like a lot of them too.
Uh-huh. So she's gonna take that back to the house to report that. We get a brief glimpse of this wolf people meeting, and it is two of them just fighting,
Fight clubbing.
fight clubbing.
It's Fight Club. Werewolf Fight Club. Which, I love this idea that werewolves are just like ungovernable. Like the pity the poor werewolf that has to try to be the leader of this, poor Michael Sheen, who's like,
Yes.
you guys, I can't leave you alone for a goddamn minute. And your shirts are you're naked,
Yes.
fucking naked fighting. Not this is not homoerotic at all.
I know they there is like almost this is one of those movies with almost nudity, and like every
Hmm.
person in this film is extraordinarily beautiful.
Oh yeah.
And so these two men who are fighting, like you just get them from like just below the belt
It's
line
like the V,
up.
the V,
Uh-huh.
the V abdomen.
I wanted to see a wide shot of this, and I know that they're not going to show full frontal male nudity, and it's not that I'm
No.
like, I got to see these dicks. It's more like just the silliness of them having to convert back into humans from
Yeah.
werewolves, and then you just see two naked men standing in the middle of a room
And like
looking
somebody's
ashamed.
like handing them their pants. Oh, I ripped my pants when I wolfed out. Could somebody get a new pair of pants for me?
That's the problem. See, the Lycans are at a disadvantage because they have to spend so much more money on clothing
Yeah.
than the
Just really cheap
vampires.
clothing. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so I was delighted by the fight, and then the fact that these boys are nude when they convert back, and delighted that I didn't look at the credits. I didn't realize Michael Sheen was in this movie, and young Michael Sheen
I
is
know.
what a surprise.
Full effect.
I loved it.
I love that somebody pointed out on like IMDb, they're like, Michael Sheen plays the leader of the werewolves that hates vampires. And then in Twilight, he plays a vampire that hates werewolves. So this is where we were at as a culture.
Uh-huh.
And I think Michael Sheen is the sort of the vertex of that.
Yes. All right, back at the fancy vampire mansion, she,
Vampire
shows
Bordello.
Vampire Bordello. We're gonna meet Craven.
Oh dear God. Oh, Craven. I feel bad for this actor because he does a good job of playing a completely despicable character.
Yes.
But like I found myself so angry I was like, come on, you are clearly the douchebag of this movie. And then I felt sorry for the actor playing Craven. And
Yes.
I was like, I don't know if there's any way that we can make this character redeemable at all.
Yeah, while watching this, I was thinking about, while he would probably never do this movie, I was thinking about Christian Bale in this role.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
But honestly, I think the template for this is Billy Zane in Titanic,
Yes. Yeah.
because that is another like perfectly awful, awful, handsome man who, from the get-go, sucks.
Yeah.
And
That is they only live to like control our heroine, and she's having none of it.
yes,
And Slash is also romantically interested in them and very frustrated that they're not interested in him romantically.
yes, yes. So yeah, I agreed with you. I couldn't tell if I was like I felt really bad for this actor as well because he
Because he
just
does a
isn't.
fine job,
Yeah,
but the part is just, man, there's no way to make this even remotely redeemable.
I think it's that thing where like when we just saw Michael Sheen,
Hmm.
right, and when we meet Victor as well, like
Yeah.
these are characters that you have an expectation of how good or evil they are, and those expectations are constantly being subverted throughout the film.
Yeah.
And Craven doesn't get a character where your expectations are constantly being subverted.
Yeah. You're
He
like, from the
he.
minute he walks on, you're like, you're a dick.
Yep,
And
and
to the end of the movie, he's a dick.
yep. I guess there is a moment towards the end when he starts revealing some information
That
to
is
Celine,
true.
where I started
He knows
actually,
some shit.
yeah, where I started actually feeling things for his character and having a more complicated view of him. And that was the moment where I'm like, oh, this guy's not a bad actor. He just finally had a moment where his character did something more than
That's it.
wafer thin evil guy.
Yeah.
So, Craven does not believe Celine that she heard the lichens in the underground.
Wink.
Yeah, he was like, "You saw a one-off subway shooting. Like, what are you talking about?"
There's no
They're
such thing as lichens. You're just making
yeah.
things up. Oh wait, I have a 10:30 appointment with the leader of the lichens.
She's like, "You know who would believe me is Victor," and he's like, "Well, Victor's dead, and I'm in charge."
Like, we put Victor to sleep,
Hmm.
and he's not scheduled to wake up in for 100 years.
Yes,
As a matter of fact, tomorrow night, 2 nights from now, we're waking up his other friend,
Marcus.
Marcus.
Yeah,
So like Victor, he's on the rotation. He's like 100 years away.
yeah, yeah. We've got the big full moon ceremony in 2 nights to wake up this other. So I guess the idea that there's like a rotation of
Yes.
people because currently Amelia is the elder in charge
Yeah.
of the vampires. She's coming in town for the ceremony to be put into
Yep.
cryo sleep,
Yep.
and then they're
Wake
going to
up,
wake up
Marcus.
Marcus. So these elders get like a 100-year rotation.
Honestly, I mean, that sounds pretty fair. So that way there's no like, you get the impression that, there was much fighting amongst the vampires themselves, probably because they had these sort of heads of power. And they're
Yeah.
like, okay, just gonna one vampire king or
Yes.
queen go take a sleep for 100 years, and then we'll just keep rotating it out.
Yes.
Which makes sense as long as your lieutenants on the ground stay faithful.
Hmm. So now Selena's really interested in like why these lichens were hunting a human
Yeah.
because this guy's very clearly just a guy. Um, and Craven obviously doesn't want to hear that shit. So let's go talk about Singe. Is that the scientist's name that works for? Is that his name?
I don't know. Oh, yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Like, I love this character actor who's like, you've recognized him from a million things, playing evil scientist guy.
Yes. He's perfect at it. The they seem to have these like humans strung up that they're taking
Yeah.
blood samples from. Lucian is really interested in the result of these, but these things keep turning up negative.
Werewolf science.
Werewolf. How do werewolf science work?
Yeah.
Uh, I regularly ask the question, how do werewolf work in any movie that involves a werewolf? Honestly, I have to say, I don't feel that question was answered by this film, but I found myself asking that question less during this film.
I mean, I think it's funny that they literally covered it in sentence number 2 of the film.
Yes.
Like Kate Beckinsale, like before we even see her, she's like, the werewolves have evolved so that they don't need to change during the full moon. I was like, how did they do that? Is it
It
just because they're scrappier?
because they learned science.
They're learning science? Is it like an evolution thing? Is it because they're more angry all the time?
Yeah.
Again, werewolf, how do vampire work is very well covered territory.
Hmm.
But how do werewolf work is often not.
Yes.
I think it's just so much like you get mad, you wolf out.
Yeah.
For the 2 nights that there's a full moon, you
Hmm.
wolf out.
Wolf out, eat a bunch of things, go fucking
Yeah, wake
nuts.
up naked.
Yeah, wake up naked. Uh, Lucian is so frustrated when Reyes comes back with his buddy is dead that he went to go get this human with. They failed to get this human, so Lucian's like, "Well, I guess I just have to do it myself." Classic villain.
Yeah.
Um, Michael is a med student. He is interning at a hospital in
Budapest,
Budapest. Yeah, yeah,
I
we're in Hungary,
guess.
I think is where this was shot.
Yes.
Um, so he apparently saved that woman who was shot on the
See,
subway.
he's a good guy. He's so
He
nice.
is so
He's
nice.
so brooding and muscly and nice and has good hair. And
Hmm.
he just saves random strangers who get shot in the middle of a 45-minute gunfight in the subway.
Yes. So Celine figures out who this guy is from the video record, from the security cam footage that's everywhere. I don't really know what era this movie is taking place in. Uh,
I think it's supposed to be like 2003
it's
because they
supposed to,
have technology.
they have, yeah, because she has a laptop that very much looks like a
Yeah.
2003 compact
They have cell
computer.
phones,
They have
like Nokia.
non-smartphone, yeah, like
Yeah.
classic Nokia phones, where the
I
really
do love,
nice ones are the tiny ones, the
oh
little bitty
yeah,
ones. Yeah,
that you could play Snake on, sure.
sure.
But I do love we get the sort of early technology trope of the like zoom into a photo and then it like
Enhance.
enhance the best because you can't do that.
Mm-mm.
Because she like zooms in, she's like, "Who's this human?" And it's all blurry as fuck, and then it just naturally just like they're like, "Oh, perfect
Yes.
resolution."
So she tracks down where he lives, goes to his house. Like she doesn't even like knock. She like kicks his door in.
I mean, you got to do something with those Club Kid boots.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Um, but the wolves are there too.
Well, Scott comes home first.
Yes.
So we have a moment of like, who are you? Why are you in my house? And she's like, shut up. There's like werewolves are knocking on the doors and windows and walls and ceilings and everything.
Yeah. He also like when he walks in, he doesn't see her right away, but his answering machine is on because his doctor intern friend at the hospital was calling to leave a message being like, "Hey, some cops were here looking for you.
Yeah.
What are you involved in?" And
Werewolf
she
cops.
immediately grabs him and throws him against the wall, being
Yeah.
like, "Why are they after you?"
He's like, I don't even know who the fuck you're talking about.
Action
Oh
sequence.
my God, the most action sequence. I did learn. So, there's this is the moment where we get Celine like shooting a hole in the floor
Yes.
in a circle to drop down a level.
Uh-huh.
Apparently, they did this on Mythbusters,
Uh-huh.
and they found out you cannot. Myth busted.
Yes.
I know this is not the first film that has done that, but this is the one that stands out in my mind of the like, I'm just gonna shoot a hole in the floor and then it like perfect. And again, she does that thing where she like Black Widow Marvel lands in the
Uh-huh.
perfect. I don't know. I love it.
I just kept thinking about the Wonder Woman lady from Too Many Cooks spinning
Yes.
around over
Just
and over and
spinning and
over
spinning and
again.
spinning.
Yep.
And meanwhile, it's like these werewolves that are literally faster than a car at full speed, like faster than a Maserati at full speed.
Hmm.
She does all this while three werewolves are barreling down a hallway.
Yes.
And then it cuts back to her and she's still spinning and spinning and spinning. And it cuts back to the werewolves and they're still kind of in the same position that they were in.
Hmm.
I love action movies so much
It
sometimes.
there's no like through line of logic through in the
No,
action sequences because
it's how
we're gonna
time feels rather than how time is.
and it's also like the action, what happens in the action is only to service what the director wants to happen. Because in this moment, you've got I think three werewolves running down the hall
Yeah.
at her, like from the ceiling and the
The
walls.
ceiling,
And
the wall, they love that ceiling
yeah.
crawl, that wall crawl.
and they she's shooting at them, but it's doing nothing. While
Nope.
whereas in the closing battle sequence at Lycan headquarters, she's
One
just
bullet
taking one
down.
shot and they're just falling.
Well, okay, so she doesn't have her magic silver bullets yet.
That's true. Well,
And
she has
it is,
silver bullets, but not the
yes,
liquid
the
whatever.
liquid, yeah, the
Yeah,
quicksilver bullets,
yeah.
which I think is really interesting that this is the thing with action movies is that it's as an ex of mine, like after going to see the Transformer movies, he's like,
Uh-huh.
what happens when you put an iPhone into a blender? Was his review of that film, which is
Okay.
like when you have an unstoppable force meets an immovable object over and over and over and over again, it creates a lot of action, but not a lot getting done,
Yes.
you know? So, like, you can shoot these werewolves all fucking day, but they're just going to poop those bullets out.
Yeah.
It might stop them for a minute.
Yeah.
And the vampires, I mean, good for the werewolves. They've actually created a bullet that will actually hurt the vampires
Right.
and explode them from the inside out. But can you imagine this war, what this war looked like before this movie started? It was just like them shooting each other over and over for all of eternity and doing no damage.
Right. Yeah, this movie doesn't really get into so much about like there's no structure to the finality of a life of these creatures. Like we understand the vampires better than the werewolves in the sense that sunlight is the ultimate thing. They never get to the wooden
Yes.
stake bit,
No.
but sunlight definitely ruins a vampire.
It's the like sunlight and if you chop off their head.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think those are the big three. Like sunlight, chop off their head, stake through the heart.
Yes. Uh, all three if you can manage it.
Yeah, why not?
But the werewolves, we understand silver bullets really is about
Yes.
it. Um,
Classic.
but there also seems to be a thing where they never say it, but feels like you have to do like several silver bullets, and the silver has to have time to work through the system.
Yeah.
So they can pop the
Or
silver
like put it through
bullets
their
out.
organs.
Yeah.
So if it's just a flesh wound, as we saw from Ray's, the deep voice vampire, like Celine put like four ninja stars
Hmm.
into his body, and he's just walking around with those things like like
Yeah.
that's what an inconvenience.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. And so I guess the idea when they get the quicksilver liquidy silver bullets.
Kind of a game changer.
Yeah, because then you can't get it out. So as long as they get the silver out of their body, they're going to
Yeah,
be okay.
you get silver poisoning.
Yeah, so that's right. Okay, so
So Michael's trapped in an
Michael,
elevator.
he manages to get to the elevator. He's trying to get out of there, get out of the building. Celine is trying to get away from these werewolves but when Michael makes it to the ground floor before Celine does, there's fucking Lucian, and Lucian manages to bite him on the shoulder.
Uh-oh.
She gets down there right as this is happening, opens fire on Lucian, grabs Michael, and gets the fuck away. She does not see that Michael was bitten, though. She
No.
just knows that she got him out of there. Although he had a lot of
Nor
blood, so I'm like,
I know there's a lot of blood.
you may want to investigate that lady
And then she also doesn't see that Lucian spits out some of Michael's blood
into a little
into a little
vial.
vial. Oh no. So it's not just that he wants to turn Michael into a werewolf, it's that he wants that blood
Yeah.
for experimenting.
Yes. So, okay, I think
Another chase sequence.
this chase sequence in the car, this is where Lucian ends up on the top of her Maserati or
Yes.
whatever she's driving. He drives a sword down through the ceiling
He
that
has
gets
like a
into her
mechanical, he has
collarbone.
like a mechanical arm sword.
Weird.
I mean, awesome,
Yeah.
but seems rather inconvenient to carry around because you
Yeah.
can't then effectively move your elbow ever. But okay,
No.
sure, whatever.
You're
But
going to
yeah,
ruin a lot of hoodie sleeves that way
oh my
too.
God, so many. Can you imagine trying to put on a coat? Like it's like having a cast in your arm. You're like, can you help me? The
Yeah.
werewolves must need a lot of help dressing each other, is what I'm saying.
It's like football players to get
Hey,
the pads on
bro,
and
can you
off.
come and put my coat on me. Um, but this is so wild. It's like, okay, so Lucian stabs Celine and she goes, oh, which means, oh no, Celine's actually been hurt.
Uh-huh.
And she's like, they managed to like get Lucian off the top of the car. And Michael, being a doctor or a med student, is like, stop the car. You're hurt.
Uh-huh.
You're going to kill us both. And she's like, shut up, human. I'm fine. And then immediately passes out and drowns them both.
Yeah, okay. So I'm like, she passes out, right? So we're like, okay, yeah, this car is gonna crash.
Yeah.
Where it crashes is crazy to me because they're immediately just like at the seaport, like
They're at
it's
the
just the
bottom of the
dock.
ocean.
They're
Yeah.
at a dock. I'm like, where were you driving at this high rate of speed? You were about to drive off this pier anyway.
They're near a river, right?
I
Budapest has a river
I
running through
guess, but
it.
I was thinking about the trajectory of the car, like what
I know.
direction it was
Like, where do
going
you
in.
think you're going, lady?
Yeah.
She's like away from the werewolf, I think was her only.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like this is such a character. Like this is a really, it's kind of funny because it happens so fast. But it's very much we learn a lot about Celine. The like, don't tell me what to do. Oh fuck. Oh no. Like sometimes she's a little bit headstrong. This Celine. And
Uh-huh.
we've seen her in relation to Craven, and we all go, well, Craven's kind of a dick, so clearly she's headstrong to him.
Hmm.
But she does, in fact, crash this fucking car because she's losing a lot of blood,
Yeah.
vampire blood.
She's too proud to admit that she
Yeah.
is passing out. But he rescues them from the car at the bottom of the ocean and
Shooting
swims
a
up.
bullet the, the windshield and
Yes.
sure.
I don't think that's how any of this works in terms of physics, but also I also don't think the anyways, whatever. We won't get into the physics of how it
Nope.
works for a car to
Nope.
go into
Sure
the
won't.
water, but we will talk about that he does, CPR and a makeshift tourniquet on the little beach under the pier for
Uh-huh.
her. Hmm.
But
Okay.
then
Oh yeah.
but he leaves her there, presumably during the daytime. That's the other thing about this movie that is wild to me.
Yeah.
It is never daylight in this movie.
No, this is like Dark
We
City.
total dark city. Like we never even talk about consider here like if your mortal enemy is sunlight, I know I would have like five alarms set,
Yes.
you know?
Yep.
And that is never even remotely a thing. It's just like always night. The vampires always have a place to sleep. They're always safe. So the fact that Michael just leaves her under the under the boardwalk,
Hmm.
big old slats of sunlight coming through, I'm surprised that she made it through the day.
Yeah. Well, let's go into werewolf science because now we've got the
Oh, here
blood
we
sample
go.
back at the lab, and it is, if
It's a
the
positive.
yeah, the
It's a
test comes
positive,
back,
Jeffrey.
it comes back
It's not a
positive,
negative.
and they're like, he's the carrier
Oh,
of whatever that is. We will find
uh-oh.
that out. And Lucian says, well, either way, I bit that man. So full moon in 2 nights. So he's going to come looking for us because he is now one of us. Uh, don't really know how that whole thing works because there's a moment where where Celine is explaining to Michael that humans aren't supposed to survive werewolf or vampire bites, but I guess they can turn a switch that's like kill
No, 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 no,
switch.
no, no. She says that I think oh crap. No, she says that you're a werewolf. If I were to bite you, you would die immediately.
Oh, okay. That the humans couldn't survive
By the
both.
both.
Very poisonous sort of thing. Yeah. So, we're gonna meet Blondie. Uh,
Yes.
I,
Erica.
is that her name? Erica?
Yes.
Okay. Erica. Oh, Erica.
Hey, I like Erica.
I
Like
love
Erica is
Erica.
because she's the like she is the she kind of has a crush on Craven, but really she's like friends with Celine, but also they have to spend all of eternity together. So she's like, honestly, I'm sick of your bullshit. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just gonna do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But she has a moral compass, we find out.
Yeah. And yeah, she's and it's that moral compass is mostly focused on herself, but I think
It's
that's not a bad thing.
Machiavellian,
Yeah.
sure,
but it's not evil. It's just
No.
simply I know how to save myself.
Yeah.
But she is, when we first meet her, she is definitely the pretty blonde girl who is angling for power
Hmm.
and angling to get with Craven because Craven is kind of the bureaucratic ruler
Yeah,
of
he's the regent. He's the
he's
king in
he's
regency.
like the prime minister
Yeah.
versus the king or whatever, the queen in this case. So uh but she discovers this Michael boy that Celine brings back.
She's like, you like him.
Uh-huh.
You like him.
But she sees the wolf bite on his shoulder and immediately goes full angry cat.
I love this. This is so, what a reaction. She's like this sleeping man,
Uh-huh.
drowsy sleeping man on the couch. You see the bite, and she just fully jumps onto the ceiling and bares her fangs.
Yeah.
Cats and dogs, man.
Yeah. And he, when he sees her like full up on the ceiling hissing at him, he busts out of that mansion.
I swear to God, this entire movie, like Michael, it's just Michael jumping through windows.
Yes.
That is like every 10 minutes.
Hmm.
People trying to get Michael, Michael jumps out a window.
Yeah.
People trying to get Michael, Michael jumps out another window. Michael
Yeah.
jumps out the window of a car. Michael jumps out the window of a mansion. Michael
Yeah.
jumps out the window of a safe house. Michael
Uh-huh.
jumps out the window of an underground safe house. Michael jumps out the window. Like, that's all this movie is.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Celine is gonna get these liquid nitrate rounds, these quicksilver
Pretty
bullets that,
smart.
yeah, they're great. I love this. This is such a good
I
invention.
mean,
Yeah,
I believe this much more than I believe the we've harnessed the power of the sun into
a
UV
bullet.
reactive
Yes.
bullets.
I like both. Like I like that
They're fine.
they have
It's fine.
gone into, yeah, it's sci-fi.
They
It's
both look really cool on screen because
they
one is really
totally
melty and one is really glowy.
uh-huh.
So that's kind of fun.
It is really, really fun. Uh, we have these conversations on the movies we watch because some of them are straight up, some of the movies we watch are straight up horror and
Hmm.
some are like horror adjacent.
Yeah.
And I think there's a few things that you have to do to kind of keep yourself anchored in the world of horror. And this movie does several things to keep it anchored as a horror film in that it is bloody and splattery.
Yes.
It's also about werewolves and vampires.
Yeah.
And our protagonist goes to the library.
Yes, she does.
It's
The
so good.
forbidden library.
Uh-huh.
Because she's got to kick in doors with those club kid boots
Yep.
just to do some research at the library.
So she's starting to, because she starts seeing drawings of Lucian and reading the story about
The
Lucian,
historical text. Yeah.
historical texts. So we understand that these people are like centuries old.
Yeah.
And so the idea that Lucian is coming around in 2003, he's been gone
He's
probably
supposed
more
to be
than
dead
100
for like,
years.
well, he's supposed to be dead for like 600 years.
Yeah, for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
So the idea that it took me a second to grok that because I was like, why do you not have a photo of this man?
Yeah.
But of course they don't. They have drawings of him and they've got like symbols that would be on his arm. And the lore is that Craven was the man who killed Lucian and
Mhm.
he cut off the brand on Lucian's arm that, cut off a tattooed piece of this man's
Yeah.
body as proof.
Which is the seal of Victor, which means that like, which kind of plays into what we will then learn that like the werewolves were the servants of the vampires. So like he's been branded by Victor.
Yes.
That's not good.
No. No. But she is yeah, she's still not certain that like obviously if this man's still alive, Lucian or Craven is up to something.
Yes.
And then she also this is where she learns from Erica that hey, your boy, he got bit by a wolf.
Oh yeah.
Um
And
Michael,
escaped.
yes. Again, Michael's already jumped out a window. He's about to do it again because he's at the hospital having his friend
Like, yeah.
look him up. His friend sells him out so fast to the cops.
Yeah.
And obviously, I put cops in quotes because these
The
are very
werewolf
clearly,
cops.
yeah, werewolf cops.
Werewolf cops are the hottest cops.
Uh-huh. He flees out another window to get
I
away.
swear to God, that's all this movie is. Michael out of the window.
Yep. Okay, so the in the vampire lair, supermansion, they have this the big tomb
Yeah,
area.
yeah.
It's a highly secure, not highly secure.
Highly the
It is
questionable.
um
There's one vampire who takes frequent and long breaks.
yes. She like tricks him out of his area to be like, "Hey,
Like, I hear there's donuts in the break room.
yeah, basically." And she sneaks into the high security tomb area, takes out Victor's tomb.
This is pretty
His
dope.
This is
I
the
love a Rube Goldberg device in any
yes,
form and fashion, and this like you
steampunk as
turn the
shit.
seal, and then it turns into the like the Hellraiser hell box, and then
Uh-huh.
the thing, and then the coffin comes up, and then she unlocks it, and it comes down, and we can't just bite our vampire vein and just drip it into his mouth. No, no, no.
Uh-uh.
This is the leader of the vampires. So the entire coffin is a like feeding mechanism for him.
Uh-huh.
Unnecessary, but A plus.
Yeah, so she feeds him some of her blood and um starts telling him, "Hey, I think Craven's up. I think Craven is in league with Lucian. I don't think Lucian is dead at all.
Yeah,
And I think Lucian is actually going to hit us during the awakening
yeah.
ceremony. Sorry to wake you up earlier. I know it's supposed to be Marcus, but you're the help us, Obi-Wan. You're
You're
our
my
hope.
vampire daddy.
Yes, Vampire Daddy. Fuck, let me get out the band names document again.
I love you, vampire daddy.
We got Witch Mommy and Vampire Daddy.
Yes, classic.
Classic.
I do love this is an interesting bit of lore that, so like not when you get bitten by a vampire or a werewolf, you get kind of like there's a psychic connection there. So like Michael is getting psychic visions that we learn of Lucian's life.
Uh-huh.
And when Celine feeds her blood to Victor, she transmits sort of a psychic connection to him, but it's not as good because she's not a very old vampire.
Right.
So when Victor wakes up, he's like, I don't know, you gave me fragments and figments, and I don't know. I need to know more.
Yeah.
Wait, what day is it? What year is it?
Yeah.
Huh?
I'm 100 years and 2 days early for this shit.
Yeah.
Um, so Craven is obviously very irate about all of this. Like, one, Michael comes back to that mansion being like, "Hey, is Celine there? I have some questions about
Yeah.
what's going on."
I'm getting weird headaches.
And so she goes to help him, and Craven's like, "If you go help him, you'll never be welcome back here." And she's
She's
like,
like, oh, we'll see
"Whatever."
what Victor says. He's awake.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And Victor, God, this whole get up, Bill Nye
I
in
love it.
I love that he goes from like almost skeletal remains
Yeah.
to fully formed
And it's like,
vampire wizard.
and
Yeah.
he's got these like he's got like blood bag IV into his back.
Yeah.
So it clearly takes a while to wake up from your 100-year nap,
Yeah.
which makes sense.
Hmm.
But this makeup is so fucking dope.
It's so good. So good. Bill Nye, incredible actor
Oh,
too.
absolutely. And I think like it's really true what you were saying of like this is like we get to know this character through the eyes of Celine. So we've kind of had a lot of front loading of this character
Uh-huh.
via our main character, Celine. So we understand he's powerful, he's smart, he's super old.
Yeah.
But then you have Bill Nighy, who is like plays vulnerable so well.
Hmm.
Like who's like angry vampire leader, but then at the same time is like concerned father
Yes.
underneath all this fucking makeup.
Yeah. He's the ultimate like your conservative dad
Yes.
who's always been so sweet to you, but he's inexplicably votes a certain way.
Yeah. I literally I saw him in the David Hare play Skylight on
Uh-huh.
Broadway, and it was unbelievable. It
Yeah.
was like him and Carey Mulligan, and it was like I've never seen people give a standing ovation to a non-musical before as
Yeah.
long as that because of
That's
the
so
two of them.
great. Well, he clearly is very angry at Craven about what's going
Yeah.
on. Like you're blaming her for waking me up early and point, yes, that is
Yes.
bad. She did a very bad thing. That's horrible. But you're in charge of
Yeah.
her and your whole kingdom and shit's going wrong. That's on you, my friend.
Yeah.
And he's like, you better bring her ass back to me because I have questions.
Yeah.
He also tells him this clan has grown weak from their decadence. Like,
Oh,
you
because
guys are,
clearly, like, with the exception of Celine, who's a
mhm.
bit over, she's the like she's the ultimate cop, the cop that
Yeah,
can't leave her job at home.
yeah,
All these other vampires, really, they just like sit around and they put on makeup and they just gossip about each other.
yeah. They put on Victorian garb and feed each other peeled grapes.
That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So Celine takes Michael to this house place. She's
Vampire
like,
interrogation
yes. I mean,
house.
this whole thing has this. It's so interesting to think about the way in which this movie kind of depicts things like the way the CIA works,
Yeah.
the way the KGB works, the way the Mossad works, things like that, like these like really, really powerful military nations that are that destabilize
Mm-hmm.
smaller nations
Yeah.
constantly,
Yeah.
and the way in which they're constantly trying to use this like neo-imperialism to justify why they need to ruin the lives of outsiders
Yeah.
of some sort.
I
And
mean,
the
it's
fact that
it's
they have an
those in
interrogation
charge.
house is so
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah.
and she even says she's like she's explaining to Michael, she's like, well, we shoot them with silver, but we also want to get information out of them
Mhm.
before they die. So we keep them alive and torture them, and then we just shoot them with silver enough that it kills them.
Yeah, because they take the silver out of them that they shoot them with long enough to interrogate. God, it's so brutal. So
Yeah.
brutal. Um, this movie would have come out before, would this have come out right around the time of like Guantanamo?
I mean, it was like only 2 years after 9/11.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like of that era, I don't think we, the public, general public, knew what was going on in Guantanamo yet. I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
But it is of a time period for
Yeah.
sure.
Yes. Okay, so the thing here is we're gonna get a couple things with this duo in the interrogation house. So one, we're gonna get some backstory.
Yeah.
He became a doctor and moved out of America to Budapest or Hungarian city,
Classic
Hungarian
place to go
Gotham
to
city.
to get your
Yes,
medical degree. Uh-huh.
yep. But because his wife died in a car crash, and he felt like if he knew then what he knows now about life-saving techniques, he thinks he
Haunted.
could have saved her. Yeah, he's haunted by her death. So he just wanted out of the country. He came to Europe to get away, to move on, to become a doctor, and that's what he's doing now. And she's like, "Have you moved on?" And he kind of looks at her and is like, "Have you?" Because she's
Uh-huh.
got her backstory too, which is her when she was a girl, her family was killed by lichens.
Uh-huh.
She is the only survivor, and it was Victor that found her, turned her into a vampire,
And
and
said,
raised
unleash
her.
hell on these fuckers.
Yes, and raised her to be a killing machine. So she is like, well, I gotta go. Let's
Hmm.
kiss for a second.
But it's a deceptive kiss. It's like a James Bond kiss of like,
Yes.
I'm gonna kiss you, but really I'm putting handcuffs on you. So is it a kiss? But it is.
I think it's, I'm gonna kiss you and I'm gonna put handcuffs on you.
Uh-huh.
She chains him to whatever
Torture chair.
torture chair, and is like, here's a gun with a single bullet in it.
Yeah.
So, because the thing is, full moon's coming tonight. You're gonna start changing,
Yeah.
and I can't have you running around being a wolf. But here's a single. I'm not even gonna. You know what? Drop the gun thing. That shit goes nowhere. Like why
Yeah,
she
no,
gives him
it
a
really
gun.
doesn't.
No.
Because I couldn't tell if she was like, kill yourself or like shoot yourself with the bullet and the silver will slow the wolf change. It's unclear.
Unclear. He
But
tries to use the.
she pieces out. She's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
later.
Yeah. Um. Lycans are getting armed up now. They're
Oh
beginning
yeah.
their
En
attack because
masse.
we're nearing the big
The
revival
ceremony.
ceremony. Yeah. And Amelia is coming in town from
Oh, Amelia. I
Prague
mean,
or
honestly,
wherever she was.
she won. Amelia, girl, slay.
Uh-huh.
Slay. Absolutely. Two, I love that the like vampires are always like stuck in the old ways. They're stuck in the old countries. So like it's 2003 and these vampires are riding in on a fucking steam locomotive.
How is this explained to the humans who live in this
Right?
city?
Right? It's like the special Midnight Express that I'm like, y'all know that Eurostar is like, or like the Euro is like
Yeah.
all over.
Y'all know there are
And
highways and armored vehicles
right?
and yeah.
But but because they're vampires, it's like style over substance every time with the vampires.
Yes. Yes.
Like if it's got red crushed velvet or fringe, they're into it.
Yeah.
Or something old timey, they're
Yes.
into it. Sometimes to their detriment.
Yeah. Private jets. Take a private jet.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Which is why one of the things, the reason why I I mean, I love hated True Blood, but one of the
Uh-huh.
things that I loved was they took a lot of these tropes about vampires and tried to update them. Like, how do vampires travel? Well, we have a whole fucking airline service
Yeah.
because we're modern. We have to find modern solutions to ancient problems, so we just invented our own airline.
Yeah. So, back at Vampire Castle, Craven is definitely trying to one, Craven and Erica start to get it on, which is the most
Yeah,
like PG-13.
non-starter.
Yes, it's so funny. And I'm like, you guys are playing to the 13-year-old boys
Uh-huh.
everywhere.
That's it.
So you get side boob off of this woman. And also like just the color palette of this movie is so like this is blue and black and silver,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's just so cold, everything about
Yeah.
it. So when she takes off her top from behind, the blonde hair and the very pale white skin against the backdrop of
Oh,
everything dark is really, really funny to me.
swing.
Swing. So he gets a phone call during sexy times,
Hmm.
answers the phone, learns that Celine is back, and he just shoves
I know.
Erica
Ugh.
right off of him. Goes to tell Celine, like, hey, if you're going to go talk to Victor alone, I'm going to tell you what to say. She's like, fuck off.
And she punches him in the face,
Yes,
which I think
so
we're
good.
all kind of waiting for that
Yeah.
moment. And
Um,
also, it's like, you like him. You like that human. And I'm like you. So you better like me.
yeah. So Victor is very angry with Celine for breaking this chain of
Don't break the
reviving the
vampire rules.
vampires.
Yeah.
It's like, we have rules. This is the first time in 14 centuries. We've been doing this for 14 centuries, and you broke this. Um, and she's like, I have proof that Lucian is still alive. And he's like, well, I'm going to leave Craven in charge to collect the proof because I've learned that you're running around with a wolf boy.
Oh, but here's the thing, like Victor, if you're so smart, like suspect everyone in the room. Like
Yes.
you've got Celine saying Victor, or excuse me, that Craven lied about killing Lucian.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna put Lucian or put Craven in charge of getting what?
You've got like Khan, you're like man at arms.
Right?
Like, have him, he's the head of your security forces.
And
Be
keep
like,
these two motherfuckers, keep Celine and Craven in your little chamber, be like, we're gonna wait right here together until
yeah,
we can get some more information.
yeah,
Because I am the king of the vampires. You're not my only two soldiers.
right. And he's like, we have rules in place and you will not be shown leniency. Amelia is
Oh,
coming to town and you're going to be
stern,
held before a
stern dad.
tribunal. Yeah. You must be judged.
I'm
And
not mad. I'm just disappointed.
mhm. Craven hauls her off to, they don't really have a jail there. They have
They
just,
just have a room
they just, here's a
with
guest bedroom
windows.
that we're
Yeah,
going to
that's
lock
it.
you in.
In our black walled bordello,
uh,
and they
but the
just put guards out front.
the key thing is that Erica is kind of listening in as he's telling the guys like his guards to like guard this room, don't let her out. I do not want anything to happen to my future queen. And Erica's like, "Oh, your future
Uh-huh. And
queen."
I think Craven also mentioned something about the impending Lycan attack.
Okay, yeah.
I think. So it's not only is like she the sort of jilted lover, but she's also like, oh, I think she suspects that Craven is in fact in league with the Lycan.
Yeah. Well, and Khan is about to learn this too cuz Khan's like, "We're off to go pick up Amelia." He's like, "No, no, no, I got that." Yeah, Khan's
No,
like,
me and
"Wait,
my team are on it. Like,
yeah,
huh?
no, all of the presidents get Secret Service escorts." It's like, no, 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 I'll send my boys to pick her up. I called her an Uber. We're
Yeah,
good.
I know, right?
It's Uber X, so
Uber
it's
X, Uber V.
yeah. So Blondie, Erica here is like, I got a plan. She just goes to the electrical
Main circuit
box and
breaker.
is like,
It's like in
shuts.
Clue.
Uh-huh.
It's like they're just like, oh, apparently this entire mansion runs off of one circuit breaker. Oh, and off.
Yep.
Oh, all the Thai tech security. Nope, just this one switch right here.
Yep. Shuts off the power. Those guards are gone from that room. Like they immediately abandoned their post
Not
moments
very
after Craven was like, under no, the most
right.
vital thing right now to our kingdom is not letting her out. And they're like, okay, hey, there's donuts in the break room. Oh, I heard that. Let's go do it.
The lights are out. Time to go wander around the castle looking for who turned the lights out.
So good. And she runs in, hands Celine her guns, and is like, get out of here. Why are you helping me? I'm not. I'm helping me. So Celine goes to go see Michael.
She's like, "You're going to be in so much trouble, and I'm going to be so here for it."
And she does, yeah, she definitely tells Craven what's happened. That
She's like, "Selena escaped."
oh no. Craven is obviously real irate. So we go get Michael, and as she's getting Michael out of this building,
Michael through the window.
Michael through the window, the Lycan forces have arrived. I was confused by this because right before the scene, Craven says, "I want Michael's head on a plate," and the vampires and the Lycans are in when the Lycans are in human form, they look all the same. Like
Hmm.
there's some subtle costume differences, whereas in the Lycans, when they're not werewolves, like when
Yeah,
there's the gun battle at the end, I'm like, how do these people know who they're shooting at?
yeah.
But I
Like how does okay? So like Michael gets taken by the two cops that
yes,
we know are werewolf cops,
yes,
but Celine just sees Michael get put into the back of a cop car and driven away.
yeah.
Does she know that they're werewolf cops? I mean, she just
I
does it
presume
matter?
she would make that leap to guess that given how much the Lycans want her
Mm-hmm.
and given that there are no cops, human cops in this
No,
world
there's
that
no
have
co-
ever
there's
investigated
none.
the subway shooting or the
Which I do
steam
think is
locomotive.
no, absolutely not. Which I do think is kind of an interesting move to set this in Budapest, which
Mhm.
is kind of this like long storied post World War II like his like occupied city,
Yeah.
like it's a city of double cross spies, east meets west,
Yes.
kind of
Yeah.
geopolitical.
The Cold
Because like
War
when this,
especially. Yeah.
right? But the fact that the actual police, the human police, non-existent.
Yes. Well, yeah, that the train. So we're going to see this steam train show up and with Amelia and all of her people and immediately get attacked by werewolves.
Yeah.
Everyone gets savaged and torn apart. So
Guns
there's,
blazing.
There is an old-timey steam locomotive showed up at Budapest Central.
Hmm.
Werewolves broke into it,
Yep.
gunfire went off, and then it sits there for what seems like a couple of hours with just a bunch of torn in half bodies.
Yes.
And there are no human police around to be like, we should check in on this.
No, absolutely. Well, I mean, and you have to wonder who's like, because we know that the vampires are the landed gentry of this world.
Uh-huh.
So I guess we can either assume one, the humans are just completely inept. Like the humans just don't figure into this because they're so can't even understand. Or my other theory is the vampires have kind of bought out the human world.
Yeah,
Like
could be
they
that.
keep this shit under wraps
Yeah.
because like at one point Celine gives Michael a bag of blood, unsure why.
Uh-huh.
She just sort of tosses at him. She's like, "Oh, we make synthetic blood because, we have to eat something and so we just made it."
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
means
she
that the
mentions it's
vamp
it's a new formula that's going to hit the market soon. We're going to make a lot of money. I'm like, what?
yeah.
Vampire capitalism. I
Yeah.
would like to know more about this vampire
So
business.
right? So I guess like we're assuming that the humans are so corrupt.
Uh,
Human systems are so corrupt that the vampires just hush everything up.
yeah.
So they can just run amok throughout the city.
Yeah. Well, Michael does get, he leaps out of another window,
Another
finds
fucking
that,
window.
and this one is not.
I'm gonna rename this movie Michael Defenestrated. It's like Girl Interrupted, but it's Michael Defenestrated.
Well, this window though is like 5 stories up. So
I
he's like, I
know.
can't believe it. But the rapid fire machine gun convinces him he's better off just falling out this window. And he does superhero landing at the bottom.
Oh.
Cops arrest him for no reason other than it seemed like it would make for a cool scene in a movie. The
Uh-huh.
cops turn on really loud heavy metal
I
music.
know. Like he's flipping out. It's his first night as a werewolf.
Uh-huh.
Change is hard. He's going through a lot. Your body's going through a lot of changes.
Yeah.
We get some real deep CGI into the like inner workings of his heart and lungs and
Ribs
rib
expanding.
cage.
Yeah.
He's screaming and crying. And honestly, these vampire or these werewolf cops are just like, oh man, turn up the radio.
Yeah.
Metal.
Yep. And then they're like, ah, shit, now we gotta dose him. So they
Yeah.
go and
Because we can't have him werewolfing out.
no.
We need to get him back to Lucian.
Yeah. So they do sedate him. The next time we see him, he's gonna be chained up in
Sexy.
yeah. So uh Victor now has fully disconnected his tubes, is
Uh-huh.
now getting his really fancy cloak on. He's looking good.
Yeah.
He's looking like fully recovered. Um,
Looks refreshed, looks
mhm,
rejuvenated.
that's right. Does a little eye mask.
Uh-huh, that's
That's
right.
a little
You look
cucumber and mint
like
tea.
just so like just a little, just so healthy.
Uh-huh. And he's yelling at Craven. Craven's like, listen, you can't listen to Celine. She is obsessed with her dumb conspiracies. She has no proof. Celine is like, here's my proof. And in the meantime, she had just gone and found this lichen scientist and brought him over.
Well, I think she like interrogates one of the werewolves that attacked,
Yes.
and that leads her to the werewolf scientist,
Yes.
which, listen, these werewolves, they give up information
Yes.
pretty easily. They're as bad at keeping information as the vampires are at guarding a door.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Everyone's a little slipshod. But she shows up with the lichen scientist, the Singe, I think is
Hmm.
his name. I said it. Yeah, I wrote it down. Singe, that's it. And full scientific breakdown now.
Oh, I love it. Like info dump, full info dump.
Yeah. It's so funny. Like, I'm trying to think of like, because this was also the time, early 2000s was the time when the Star Wars prequels were coming out.
Yes.
And one of the
Like
things,
Phantom Menace and like all that.
yeah,
Yeah.
one of the things in those prequels that George Lucas did that drove everyone crazy was he started explaining how the Force works because
It's
it's these.
metachlorians.
That's right. This
And
shit
everybody
in your
went, what?
Yeah.
No, it's space magic.
So I'm curious, and I'm curious if that was just part of this era where it became interesting to have a scientific explanation for
Yes.
every fucking thing going on.
Well, to take something mystical like werewolves and vampires
Uh-huh.
and not just giving them guns, but also giving them science, DNA, genetic mapping,
Uh-huh.
because like that shit was like that technology essentially was kind of started in the 90s.
Yeah, because
So
yeah.
it's now like we've now seen enough who's the father DNA tests on Maury Povich
Uh-huh.
that now in the 2000s we're like, oh, this is
Yeah,
sci-fi.
because we're
Like
getting
now we
into
can
the
just,
human genome, we're getting
yep.
into stem cell research, things like that. Yeah.
So it makes it seem very technologically advanced
Yeah.
because honestly, for 2003, it like for our public everyday consciousness, it kind of was technology
Yeah.
advanced.
Well, the Lycans have been searching for a descendant of Alexander Corvinus. And the idea was that there was this one person who was bitten by something about his descendants. He had like three
Wolf and
descendants.
bat.
Yeah, one of them remained human, one was bitten by a bat, one by a wolf, and Victor is like, "What a dumb, that's a legend. That's not real." And he's like, "No, listen, we got Michael Corvin's blood because he is a descendant of them and he's got the triple-celled platelet. He is set up to be all three things at once: human, vampire,
Oh
and
shit.
werewolf." Um, and
Apex predator.
yeah, and talks about doing this for Lucian's study, and Victor's like, "Lucian is dead," and Singe is like, "According to whomst?" And they look
Oh.
over to Craven, and that man is just a Craven
Yoink. Like
shaped
just like
thing of
no,
smoke.
right? Yes. Like a cloud of craven shaped dust.
A whole Craven shaped hole in the wall that he has run out on. And he basically fucking bails. Like
No,
he just gets the fuck out of there because he
because
knows
he's
he's
double
about to
agent.
be found. Yeah. Um, so Victor says, "Oh, hey, Celine, I'm really sorry. I doubted you.
Hmm.
This is great proof. And you know what? He will pay with his life, and absolution will be yours just as soon as you go find and kill this Michael guy."
Because here's the thing about Victor. He'd rather keep the bloodline pure,
Hmm.
pure vampire,
Yeah.
than have any kind of genetic race mixing.
Yeah. No, he is racist vampire is definitely the thing. So Lucian is working on Michael,
I love
doing
that
his.
Lucian is like the respectable, like, oh, I'm so sorry. My werewolf underlings have been so rough with you.
Hmm.
I'm a gentleman. I know you're chained to a very sexy cross here, but
Hmm.
it's really I just hear me out, okay?
Yeah. But he is Michael says, "Your war has nothing to do with me," and Lucian kind of stares at him like, "My war?"
Oh, well, you're a werewolf now, boy.
Yeah. And Michael has more of these flashbacks, and now they're becoming clearer to him. And he starts seeing the flashbacks that he's gotten because it's the memories are contained within the platelets passed down through the whatever.
Absolutely.
Who knows? But what we see in these flashbacks are we've got a man chained up and a woman across the room chained up and like kind of a tribunal around them. This man is being whipped. The woman is screaming no. We understand them to be lovers that have been torn apart. And then this woman is killed by sunlight coming in through the roof,
So she's a
Indiana
vampire.
Jones style,
Yeah.
light peering through a hole. And he screams, he's like, "Sonia, no." And then we see that it is Victor whipping this man. So Victor was just overseeing a vampire being
I
executed,
know.
and then that chained man is Michael Sheen,
Lucian.
is Lucian,
And
and
he wolfs out.
he wolfs out and escapes through a window because that's what wolves do.
That's what werewolves do.
And Michael's like, "Oh my God, you were in love with Sonia, And they didn't like that. And they forced you to watch her die. And that's what started the war. I just saw it all. Like I
Yeah.
was there. And Lucian is like, yeah, we were the slaves of the vampires. We were their daylight guardians back when there was sunshine in this town.
I know, right? Which there apparently is not these days.
And he had fallen in love with Sonia, the
The
daughter.
Oh, fell in love with the boss's daughter?
Yep. And
You're
this,
downstairs. She's upstairs. It could never work.
right. And when Victor found out she was in love with him, he had her executed. And Lucian is like, this is Victor's war. They spent the last 600 years eliminating my species. So,
Because apparently they don't need day watchers anymore
no.
because it is never day
No.
and they have technology now to just like shutter the windows.
Uh-huh. So, Craven shows up uh and to confront Lucian, basically like
Yeah, he's
this
like
whole
everything's
plan is
fucking
going
up
crazy. Yeah. And so the plan was I basically the whole plan from the get-go was Lucian would pretend to die at the hands of Craven,
hmm
helping Craven get in power, and that when after they created this merger of clans, that Amelia would oversee. So these vampire clans had we saw a scene earlier where they had like joined together in force. So like
Yes.
most of the vampire world is united. Then the idea would Amelia would get killed. Craven would take over in the chaos of our leader was
Yep.
executed, and then he would create a peace treaty with the Lycans.
While
Did I get that right?
using Amelia's blood to create this new vampire werewolf hybrid.
Yes, that seems to be the case.
What could go wrong?
But this dumb lady woke up Victor, and now we're
Now,
all
she
fucked.
tattled on. She called Daddy out of his room a little bit early.
Hmm. And then they hear outside the machine gun fire. Victor and his crew have shown up at Lycan headquarters. And as Lucian is like, I'm going to go fight this thing, maybe you should think if you're
hmm
ever going to be a leader, maybe you might have to fight for things.
Yeah.
But as Lucian turns around, Craven shoots him in the back with the silver
Oh
nitrate bullet.
no.
Oh, sad.
Oh, Craven.
I was just getting to like Lucian.
I know.
All right. Okay. Okay. We're talking so much about like how bad people are at being like security and cops and things
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that. Like
yeah.
the security guard that just gets distracted by the donuts. The fact that all the vampire guards just left Celine alone after they were told don't let her out.
Uh-huh.
Well, they're all Lucian has been waiting for Ray's to show up to take over security of Michael's
Yeah.
scene. And like Ray's is just late to work, shows up, sees Lucian essentially what we presume is dead on the
Yeah.
floor. He's like, oh fuck, I shouldn't have stopped for coffee. And now we're in like full action sequence in this
And it's
dilapidated warehouse.
just tunnels. Tunnels of vampires and werewolves getting
There's a
shot.
pool. There's a pool there
There's a
too.
pool.
Uh-huh.
Celine is going after Michael.
Yep.
Craven's trying to escape.
Yep.
Uh, Werewolves are attacking vampires
Mm-hmm.
in every possible combination.
Yeah. Lucian we see is still alive,
hmm Weak, but still alive.
very weak, and trying to just hold his shit together. Khan and his men from the vampire squad are there. They get got. There's a lot of just one side wins a battle, the other side
Yeah.
wins a battle, back and forth, back and forth. There's a really cool kind of almost Matrix like backflip that she does over a wolf.
Yes.
Really, really, really dope. Um, so we see. Hold on, let me pause for just a second. Oh, Celine finally finds Michael sexily tied up. They
Yeah.
had been sedating him so he won't turn into that wolf. Well, she frees him. They kiss, and Lucian sees this.
And he's like, it's just like me and my dead wife.
Yeah. And Michael tells Celine, like, I know it started the war. So when Victor shows up, when we see him there, Like this giant wolf attacks him, and he basically just kills it with one hand.
Yeah, like one punch.
Grabs it around the neck, pushes it to the ground, punches it dead. That's how powerful he
Like
is.
he's been fighting vampire or he's been fighting werewolves for a very long time.
Yeah, he's very good at his job. So Selena and Michael have to sneak through all of this, but Michael opens the wrong door and there's fucking Craven, and Craven shoots Michael several times in the chest with the Quicksilver bullets. So it's like, oh shit,
Yeah.
he's fucked and he is dying fast on the ground.
But Lucian is like, kiss him. Just
Yeah,
lean in and kiss the girl.
yeah, yeah.
But
Lucian comes up behind, stabs Craven in the calf with
yeah,
his
this
secret arm.
secret sword,
Uh-huh.
secret arm sword gives him some time. And Celine bites Michael because she's like, no, he can take it.
Yeah.
He's the one.
And now because he's got this gene, he can become both now.
And I do love that, like, he kind of like flips out because he's got silver in his body, he's got vampire in his body, he's got werewolf in his body. He's having a hard day,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
But he just sort of like crashes through another window, Michael defenestrated, into a pool of water.
Uh-huh.
And then we have this whole thing with I like it's unintentional, but Celine and Victor have to like have a reckoning, which also gives us the cover so Michael can turn into this completely new thing that we've never seen before.
Yeah. Almost like merman looking. Like he's got like shiny silvery
I get
skin.
this is the thing. I know we've talked like we've gotten through most of this movie, but these werewolves,
Uh-huh.
they don't really look like wolves. They kind of look more like were horses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they're less hairy like wolves, like fur,
Uh-huh.
and more like equine,
Yeah.
which I get. Like I'm not mad at
No.
because the like honestly the werewolves in this are pretty fucking badass, but they're not furry. They're more muscular.
Yeah, they're like
So
pit bull sort of looking.
yeah,
They're like
it's
sleek,
like that
muscular.
movie 300, but with dog horses
Yeah.
instead of people.
Yeah, give them pug faces in
Oh
300
my
and then you
God.
have
Can you
this.
imagine were pugs? You just turn into a pug every full moon
Oh,
and have a hard time
adorable.
breathing.
So slobbery. Just ruining all your shirts with slobber. So,
So
yeah.
anyway, so Craven, before he got, he tells Celine, he's like, listen, I've been cleaning up Victor's dirty mess for 1,000 years.
Uh-huh.
And Victor was the one who ate your family. Because
Yeah.
we put a lot of talk in like, oh, let's eat livestock, let's keep the humans alive. But honestly, he gets real bored and he likes to eat humans every once in a while. So, and then he saw you and you reminded of him of his dead daughter, Sonia,
Uh-huh.
who he killed.
Uh-huh.
And so he's like, I don't know, I get a daughter. It's very, what's the Marvel with, with Nebula and fucking Gamora and
Oh, sure. Yes, yes.
like I'm a conqueror and I'm going to like adopt this daughter and turn her into a perfect killing machine, but then
Yeah.
it turns out I'm the reason that she's the perfect killing machine to begin with, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yes.
So Craven, I don't know, like you got to feel a little bad for this guy because he's been working for a tyrant for 1,000 years, and he's like,
Uh-huh.
I'm just sick of cleaning up this dude's shit.
Yeah.
Of course, Celine does not believe him, but she has to confront Victor,
Yeah.
and Victor doesn't really deny it.
Nope. Nope. Yeah, she says like it wasn't the lichens, it was you. And he's like, oh, honey. Yeah,
I
it's
was so
hard being a
hungry. I was
dad.
hangry.
Yeah, hangry. And he's like, I loved my daughter, Sonia, so much, but she got pregnant from this guy, so that's what is a dad supposed to do but kill her?
Abomination.
The child in her belly was an abomination.
Damn.
Fuck. So Michael has already been like blasted through a wall by Victor,
Oh yeah.
and he's lying in the company pool, and he is converting now. And now we're down to the final showdown between
Oh yes.
Victor and Mikhail.
Like what should we call Michael at this point? A a Vam Wolf, a
Werepire?
werepire.
Uh,
He's a black-eyed werewolf, which we know the black
but
like
he's kind of
the
got like fishy body. You know what I mean? Because
yeah.
it's all silvery. Like it reminded me of Dagon when we watched
Yes.
that movie. It
Yes.
looks very much like the sea monstery people in that.
Or like the sort of the sentient fish aqua character in Hellboy,
Yes,
you
yes.
know.
So
But he's so fast.
so
He's so
fast.
strong and he's shocking Victor.
Yeah,
Like Victor's like, "Wait a minute. This is the legends are true. It's more than the sum of its parts, this
yeah.
werewolf vampire."
Yeah, so it's got the classic beats of the action movie showdown, which is like the good guy has the leg up to start, bad guy
Yep.
figures it out, and then just starts destroying good guy
Like
to the
throws
point
him
where you're
through a
like,
wall.
he's not gonna
One
win.
punches like one uppercut into the next room.
Yep, and he's finally got Michael in a headlock. It's like prepare to die, and Celine sees Victor's silver sword that he always carries with him. He always
Oh
finishes
yeah.
off people with that sword. She grabs it, like leaps past him.
Fucking
Like,
House of Flying Daggers style.
yep. And like, it's like, all right, here we go, big man. And he stands up. It's like, all right, girl, you want this? I'll face off with you. But then he starts feeling a little woozy.
I
Something's
know. He's
wrong,
got little
Cecil.
bags under his
Oh
eyes.
yeah, he's looking a little weird. Oh, he's got like a scar diagonal across his face.
And
Oh, his
she
head
does
is
the
sliding off.
Oh no, she brained him. I love it's so classic like samurai, like she has to like show the blood on her sword to be like
Yes.
fatal blow.
So
Because
good.
this like the cut was so clean.
Uh-huh.
He didn't even know he was dead, but
Yes.
he was.
Uh-huh.
She cut off his head.
She did.
Listen, that is some teenage rage right
Yeah.
there.
We're I would be curious as to like what's the line of succession in the vampire
I know,
government because I guess Marcus is the next one because the
right?
other two elders are dead now.
Yeah, two elders are dead.
So
And the Singe, the werewolf scientist, when
yes,
they
this is such
killed
a
him
great yeah, they killed him on the floor of the tomb room.
and his werewolf blood drips down into the tomb of Marcus.
Ah, so good.
And Marcus, like it's like the last shot is like a voiceover from Celine, kind of like the beginning. She's like, lives were changed, factions were rise and fall. I have killed the leader of the vampires, and next I will be hunted. But for now, we're good.
And our last shot is Marcus's body in the tomb, upside down, just on his face,
Yeah.
and that blood is dripping into his little blood catcher, and
And his
his
eyes
eyes,
turn
boop.
black. And I think I did see the sequel, and essentially it's like Celine and Michael versus the world. So like
Okay.
Marcus wakes up as a were-vampire
Hmm.
and makes a whole lot more were-vampires because he's embracing the technology. He's not as like old-fashioned as Victor, like keep the bloodline pure,
Hmm.
but he's pissed about Celine and they're like, we got to kill those
Yes.
two. And that's pretty much the sequel.
The end. Shall we rate this movie?
Yes, let's.
All right. How approachable is this movie if you are horror film averse? On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being like not at all approachable, 10 being pretty approachable, super approachable for the horror verse. Like, I'd give Underworld like 7 out of 10 colored contact lenses. It's not really, it's way more action film with vampires and werewolves. It's CGI bloody. It's a very splattery movie. Um, we do have like the head slicing at the end or whatever, but it all is very stylized. I would say like
It feels like a video game.
yeah, it
It's video
does.
game violence.
Yes. I would say the one thing I think for me personally that I think made me the most like horror squeamish in watching this was not jump scares or blood. It's the body horror aspect, especially like when they go inside Michael's body and show everything changing, the heart beating,
Like
like
ribs cracking.
ugh,
Yeah.
ugh. So, but still like 7 out of 10. It's not like scary. It's splattery. It's actiony. That's where we're at with this. So that's for approachability. But just to speak of this as a horror film, Cecil, how do you rate this movie?
I mean, this is a pretty darn good one. Like, it was kind of a not a shock, not a surprise, but like we said before, if you were to think of the most 2003 movie, this is probably up there. Now, as a horror film, it is not the scariest, even though it has a lot of horror elements to it. So listen, when we get a lot of vampires, we get a lot of werewolves. The vampire look is pretty typical.
Hmm.
The werewolf look is unusual, but I think they do a really excellent job of showing the transition into the werewolf, which is like a classic thing.
Yep.
But it's not for scare, it's more for like excitement.
Yeah.
So you can then watch them fight.
Yeah.
So if you like watching werewolves and vampires fight, this is a movie for you. But if you like a scary horror movie, maybe not that scary. So
Yeah.
for that reason, I would say 7 out of 10. Dayglow bullets.
Perfect. Let's figure out what movie we're going to watch next. You've got a scare die. I've got a style die. We will roll those up and see what movie matches those two things. So, Cecil, if you roll a one on your scare die, our next movie scare is technology. Two, wild card. Three, conspiracy. Four, alien. Five, paranormal. Or six, psycho killer.
That's a 5.
Paranormal. Okay, so we're going to match your paranormal with the style that I roll. If I roll a one, our next movie's got to be based on a book. Two, it's got to have a one word title. Three, it's got to be a sequel, prequel, or remake. Four, set in New York City, New York. Five, it's got to have a bitchin' soundtrack. Or six, a splatter film. What do we got? I got a one, based on a book, paranormal.
Oh, fun. So many options here.
So we wrote down a few that we thought would fit this possible role, and we also have a letterboxd account at Random Horror 9 where we put all of the possible role matchups each week on there. So yeah, go join in on that and you can contribute movie ideas. So let's go through the ones that we wrote down first, Cecil. Pretty basic stuff. The Amityville Horror,
Yep, classic.
classic. Still have never seen this movie, have read the book. Be very curious to see how they transform this into a film. Another one, here's a Daphne du Maurier book, Don't Look Now.
Oh, yeah. I actually just read the short story. So I'm
Yeah,
interested to rewatch the film
same.
after reading the short story.
Haven't read the story yet. Just watched the film a couple of months ago for the first time.
It's very faithful.
Yeah.
Very
Oh, is
faithful.
it? Okay, great.
Yeah.
We've already covered Carrie, but I just threw on here the remake of Carrie.
The 2013.
Yeah, be interesting.
I know it's flawed. I've seen it. It's not as good as the original, but listen, it Julianne Moore as the
Yes.
mom is like fucking great.
Yeah. Another one here's a Polanski film called The Tenant.
Yes,
This is based on The Tenant, a novel by Roland Topor.
sort of a what is it about? It's about reincarnation.
Hmm.
Again, it's the sort of the Polanski trilogy, the horrors of urban living, of like, do you really know who your neighbors are kind of thing, but it's about more than that as well.
Okay. Now we get into the Stephen King zone. The
Yep.
Mist.
Yep. Which
We've
is
already
based on a short story, right?
based off a novella. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
novella. Okay.
I think it's
I've never read that one. The movie's great. The movie has like, listen, the ending of that fucking movie is shocking.
okay, great. I've only read the story. I've not seen the film, so I'd be
Okay.
curious to watch this. The remake of Pet Cemetery, because like with Carrie, we covered the original.
Yeah.
1408.
Yep. Which is a good like PG-13 kind of like it's ghost. It's very ghosty,
Yeah,
and kind of a mind fuck sort of thing rather than like a visceral kind of thing. So,
yeah. We've also got Doctor Sleep, the sequel to The
yep.
Shining,
Yep.
with Ewan McGregor.
Ewan.
Ewan McGregor and others. And then one that I'm less familiar with, The Manitou. Manitou.
Oh my goodness. Okay, The Manitou is a 1978 cult classic
Okay,
about a woman. Okay, I've seen this. Let's see if I can get this right. A woman who has a goiter, which is
great.
actually a Native American shaman that is trying to control her. And so her boyfriend, who's a fake clairvoyant played by Tony Curtis, gets a real shaman and they have a metaphysical battle over her body.
All
It
right.
is fucking amazing.
Okay, great.
It is indescribable, this movie. Like, do you
Awesome.
remember The Visitor?
Yes.
Think that's the vibe.
Oh, wow. Okay. I love it. Well, let's check out what the folks over on Letterboxd had to say. We've got a lot here. So let's see what people had to suggest.
So King and Commodore recommends a movie called Rosin from 1998, based on a sequel to The Ring. A young pathologist seeks answers to the mysterious death of a friend and soon comes into contact with the same cursed videotape that caused the death of the friend's wife and son, which is haunted by the curse of Sadako, a relentless spirit. I've never
Great.
seen any of the sequels to the
I
Ring
haven't either.
series. I'd be curious to explore some of that territory.
Same.
Recommends John Dies at the End from 2012. Two guys take a drug called soy sauce, which opens your perceptions to paranormal phenomena.
All right. All right.
Hyromech recommends You Should Have Left from 2020. Guy and Whiff and
Wife.
Kid. Oh, Guy
Wife.
and Wife and Kid. I was like, Guy and Whiff. Wow, what's an interesting names. Hi, my name is Guy. This is my boyfriend Whiff, and this is our child Kid. They move into a weird house for a little bit, and the house is bigger on the inside and keeps twisting a space around. Very paranormal, based on a novella, but also ripping. I was going to say, this sounds like House of
It
Leaves. It's
does. Yeah.
kind of ripping off House of Leaves. Interesting. Suffice to say, the protagonist does not follow the advice of the title. You should have left. Monstrum seconds The Mist. Bugava Hugajuva
Hell yeah.
uh, recommends Wish Upon, based on the Monkey's Paw short story. It is absolutely terrible and so much fun.
Oh, okay. Great.
Crowned Sealy recommends The Lair of the White Worm, 1988, based on the book of the same name by Bram Stoker. Young archaeologist digs up a strange skull while excavating the ruins of a convent, and may or may not have awakened an ancient monster and its sexy immortal priestess. I love
Lovely.
this. Is it a good movie? No. Is it a great movie? Also, no, I beg to differ. I fucking love Lair of the White Worm. I mean, it's what's the director? We just did one of his altered states.
Yes. Oh, with Ken Russell. Ken Russell. Yeah.
Ken Russell. So
Yeah.
it's very Ken Russell.
Oh, awesome.
Cronenberg recommends The Dead
Of course.
Zone.
Yeah.
School teacher Johnny Smith, played by Christopher Walken. I mean, this is like a classic Christopher Walken role here.
I feel like not quite. I mean, I guess paranormal is such a broad term, but I kept
I
thinking about
don't.
paranormal as in like more like spirits
Ghosty?
and ghosts rather than seeing the future.
I can see that.
Yeah. But
I mean, yeah,
I love the Dead Zone. I would love to get to Dead Zone.
yeah. I mean that's talk
Conspiracy
about a
based on a book. Like I was really like Dead Zone, Dead Zone, Dead
oh
Zone.
yeah, yeah. So Johnny Smith wakes up from coma, discovers he has the psychic ability to foresee future events after touching a person's hand.
Yep.
Oh my, yeah, that's a good one. Ghostlight AK recommends Ghost Stories from 2017.
Sure.
After receiving a file with details of three unexplained cases of apparitions, skeptical professor embarks on a terrifying trip based on the stage play, and the scripts are books. That's kind of interesting.
Huh.
Rhubarb also recommends Ghost Story. Oh no, different Ghost Story. This is Ghost Stories. This is Ghost Story, 1981. I've read this one. I've not seen this, but I've read about it. Fred Astaire, Melvin Douglas, John Houseman, and Douglas Fairbanks Jr. star in a movie based on a novel by Peter Straub. It doesn't get a lot of love, but they have a soft spot for it. Yeah, it's very like kind of old legends of Hollywood tell a spooky tale. So like
Yeah, yeah,
lo-fi ghost story, which
yeah.
I'm kind of curious about. And they also recommend The Legend of Hell House.
Hmm.
Paranormal researchers, including Roddy McDowell, investigate a murderous haunted house based on the Richard Matheson novel. Ganymede's Cup really advocates for John Dies at the End, and also Dear David from 2003, an American supernatural horror film, a fictionalized version of Adam Ellis working for NYC-based BuzzFeed gets haunted by the ghost of a murderously creepy boy named David.
Interesting.
Huh.
Okay,
Laughing Academy recommends Spirits of the Dead from 1968, an adaptation of three Edgar Allan Poe stories.
great.
Love some Edgar Allan Poe. And also seconds The Dead Zone, seconds Lair of the White Worm. J.B. Wolfe recommends The Boogeyman, based on the short story by Stephen King. I have such a personal history with that short story,
Yeah.
and I didn't know they made a movie out of it in 2023. That might
Didn't
be kind
either.
of
It's
interesting.
that story is so
Spare.
contained and specific, and also like rereading the story. I reread it a few years ago. I don't remember all the specifics of it, but it is a man essentially, I think, telling his therapist about
Yeah,
this boogeyman.
that
But
his
the
kid,
man
it's
is
about his
like,
kid's death.
yeah, oh, that's right. Yeah. But also that the character is like so blatantly racist and horrible.
Oh,
Like everything
really?
he says
Oh,
is
I don't
just
remember
this
that.
really foul sort of shit. So you sort of
Oh,
get the sense of like there's some lore. I'm curious what the movie does with.
interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I'm not saying that as a judgment of the story. I'm saying I think that was
But
intentional
like an interesting
to the
character
story. Yeah.
choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Volunteered Spider seconds Doctor Sleep. Suspicious Beans recommends a movie called Mad Love from 1935, based on the hands of Orlok. Peter
Hmm.
Lorre, oh, fucking love Peter Lorre.
Sure.
Peter Lorre is a skilled surgeon who claims he can save a pianist's hands when they are damaged. Unfortunately, the pianist is engaged to an actress, and the surgeon becomes obsessed with her. Uh-oh.
Hmm.
Unsettling and skeezy, and Peter Lorre is brilliant. Oh my God, I love it. Gwennis Racket recommends Guillermo del Toro's Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark from 2019. The shadow of the Bellows family has loomed large in the small town of Mill Valley for generations, and it's a mansion that young Sarah Bellows turns her tortured life and horrible secrets into a series of scary stories.
Great.
Terrifying tales soon have a way of becoming all too real for a group of unsuspecting teens who stumble upon Sarah's spooky home, a non anthology movie based on an anthology book series.
Great.
Weaponized Toaster seconds the Amityville Horror and Rosin and Doctor Sleep, and also recommends Uzumaki, which is the 2000 version of
Manga
the
series about
manga
the
Uzumaki or
spirals
Spiral.
in town. Yeah.
I love the source material. The movie is not bad. It does its best, but it's no Uzumaki,
You're right.
in my opinion. M. de Cost recommends The Dybbuk from 1937,
Sure.
Polish film in Yiddish about a bride possessed by a Dybbuk, based on a play. Haven't seen it, but it's available on Canopy and the Internet Archive. Fifth Hammer recommends Bird Box from
I
2018.
remember this thing being all the craze when it came out.
Yeah, I never saw this one. A mysterious force decimates the population, but one thing is certain: if you see it, you die.
Great.
Searching for hope, a woman and her children embark on a dangerous journey to find the one place that may offer sanctuary, based on a novel. I love it. We have one thing where like aliens you can't speak around, ghosts you can't see.
Right, right.
Horror Lectures recommends Jamie Marks is Dead from 2014, based on the book One for Sorrow. A high school student befriends a ghost of a misfit classmate who may have been murdered. Ooh, that sounds kind of fun. Shadotterdan seconds John dies at the end. Describing is hard, but it was certainly an experience. Absolutely, that's a good way to describe it. Anthropodas, A Haunting in
Arth.
Venice, based on the Agatha Christie novel Halloween Party. I don't always consider whodunits to be horror, but I think especially with paranormal elements and a chilling castle atmosphere, definitely qualifies. I would say out of the like Agatha Christie's, it's definitely the most horror adjacent, but it is kind of the like spooky things happen and then they kind of have to explain, Hercule Poirot has to explain. They're like, oh, it's not a ghost, it's
Yeah.
XYZ. Denakure, Spiral, Uzumaki. Or no, excuse me. Spiral, it's a sequel to the novel Ringu, but not necessarily the movie, which has some significant omissions which come into play in this film. That's interesting.
That's
I'm going.
interesting.
Oh, Chuck I recommends Angel Heart,
Yeah.
1987, based on a book, apparently, Fallen Angel. 1955, New Orleans, small-town privateer, private investigator Harry Angel is hired by a man who calls himself Louis Cipher to track down a singer named Johnny Favorite. But the investigation takes an unexpected, somber, and I would say sexy turn.
Great.
The Ninth Gate. I like The Ninth Gate a lot. It's actually one of my like low-key faves that I thought didn't get a lot of love.
Hmm.
A dealer of rare books finds himself at the heart of a string of paranormal events when he's hired to find the last two copies of a text capable of summoning the devil based on the Club Dumas. Oh, also Nightbreed, 1990. Ooh, these are some good choices, Chuck I. Troubled young man is drawn to a mythical place called Midian, where a variety of friendly monsters are hiding from humanity. Meanwhile, a sadistic serial killer is looking for a patsy, based on Cabal by Clive Barker. I've never read this, but the movie, fucking classic.
Yeah.
So classic. Let's see. VB Person recommends Sleepy Hollow.
Did it?
We covered Sleepy Hollow
Yep.
for our Patreon.
Yep.
Sarah Scarehound loves John Dies at the End and also recommends Starved Acre from 2023, based on the book by Andrew Michael Hurley. Old school 70s set folk horror about a young couple and their kind of creepy kid living on a possibly cursed land. Ace Diamond recommends a whole lot of things: Lair of the White Worm, Phantom of the Opera, The Last Voyage of the Demeter, The Dark Half. Ooh, that's a good, another
Yeah.
Stephen
Stephen
King
King.
rec.
I've
Riding the Bullet from
also Stephen
2024.
King. Yeah.
I've never heard of this
Yeah.
one. The Midnight Meat Train, based on a Clive Barker. Black Phone, we covered Black Phone.
Yep.
And Tales of Terror, a Roger Corman adapting Edgar Allan Poe short stories.
Wow. So many things.
Because, okay, paranormal, like I think you and I were thinking ghosty,
Yeah. I think we were thinking like an apparition, a ghost, a demony
and
presence.
we know novelists love the ghost narrative
Yeah.
because ghosts are such a like kind of metaphor for things past.
Yeah.
Ghosts play really well in book form.
Yeah.
Almost, one would say, almost better than in film form.
Yeah. There's a couple here that there's a few here that I feel like in the spirit of trying to narrow down the list, there's some good ones on here that I don't think quite fit what I wanted for
Yes,
paranormal. Like I don't think The Mist quite
right.
fits
Like,
what I'm
we have some monster things. Like I love Lair of the White Worm, but it's not really a we. I think we were thinking ghost story, and if we're going to narrow it to like paranormal spirits, I think
uh
that's like not a good choice. The Mist, not a good choice.
yeah.
John Dies at the End is one that comes up a lot. I've seen it. It's funny, it's quirky, it's interesting. It's almost more like sci-fi, like kind of
Yeah.
Lovecraftian modern sci-fi horror
Hmm.
adventure. If
Yes.
that makes any sense.
Yeah. To me, like uh something like Amityville Horror and 1408 both really land on the I
Sure.
can't quite explain this shit.
Yes.
That like what the living fuck is going
Yeah.
down here, in this house or in this hotel room. Uh, those feel, uh, those feel like really solidly in the role
Yeah.
that I think. Whereas like something like I said before, like the Dead Zone, not quite. He does have a paranormal skill, but
Yeah.
it's kind of like Carrie to me. Like he's got a form of telepathic
Yeah. Yeah.
ability,
Yeah. Yeah. Telekinetic more
telekinetic
than
sort of power.
paranormal.
Yeah, but it's looking for like inexplicable spirity things.
Here,
Goes, yeah,
so we have a lot of Stephen King options and we have a couple non-Stephen King options.
yeah.
Honestly, for me though, Don't Look Now is like because I've seen the movie a long time ago.
Hmm.
Now I've read the short story and I kind of want to go back and revisit the film.
Yes,
And that is like, is it paranormal? It definitely has psychics in it,
yes.
and it has something in it,
Uh-huh.
but is it a ghost? Not necessarily.
No, no, it is but some kind of weird shit is going on.
Yeah.
Like it feels more conspiracy than paranormal.
Yeah, there's that as well.
Um, but whatever the bullshit is, the paranormal aspect of that bullshit that is happening is
Yeah.
bonkers.
Also, The Tenant is like kind of is a dark horse contender. I've seen it. I find this movie kind of fascinating. It is it has a couple of question marks, a couple of flags to be raised. I mean, one, it's directed by Roman Polanski,
Yep.
stars Roman Polanski, and it has some interesting gender swapping
Oh,
things going on there that are like it's just interesting. It's an interesting film.
yeah.
But it definitely fits paranormal, fits based on a book.
Fascinating. Um, We've also got like another dark horse on this list of one that I don't even know about, which is the Rosin, the 1998, The Spiral,
Oh
which
yeah,
is yeah, which is Ring related.
right.
So that's very curious. But I know nothing about
Yeah.
know nothing about this. That was from King and Commodore. And a couple other people seconded that movie as an option.
Ooh.
There's also like the ghost stories, the
Yeah.
ghost story or whatever. Like I think that's the old black and white spooky dooky
Uh-huh.
sort of thing. Um Also the Dybbuk, like a
I know, in
1937 Polish
1930.
film
Yeah.
is really interesting.
Because that's based on a play. I've actually seen the play on stage, but I've not seen the movie,
Yeah.
this 1937 movie.
One of the
Unfortunately,
things,
I can't get Canopy.
yes, so
I
that's
have
one of
been
the
I
issues.
have been denied Canopy multiple times.
Oh no.
Yeah,
So your
because
library
apparently
doesn't have it or
no, it doesn't. And it's
dang.
like you're locked out of that shit.
Yeah. That's a bummer. Yeah, Dybbuk sounds really, really fascinating. Um, but of course we also like have a bunch of cool things on here of just movies we kind of want to see, like The Ninth Gate,
Yeah.
Nightbreed, Don't Look Now.
Yeah.
Like these are all movies that kind of skirt. Because I think if we did like exclusively, like we're looking for paranormal in the way that like I can't explain why this is here. Like
Okay,
Doctor
sure.
Sleep doesn't quite fit that to me because I think it
Yeah.
kind of exists in a realm where like we already know that
We know exactly what, like the
what these
Overlook
things are
Hotel is,
now.
yeah.
Yeah, now they're just
Like The Shining
spooky.
is The Shining,
Yeah.
and
The
there's
Shining is
energy.
paranormal because we don't understand what's
Yeah.
happening, but I think
And
Doctor
now
Sleep
there's
has.
like energy vampires trying to like
Yeah.
eat The Shining.
Yeah. Uh so to me, like Amityville Horror and 1408 are the two that really fit this the
All
best.
okay.
But do we want to say like honestly, we really just want to watch Don't Look Now, which
I
is
know.
close enough to it.
Also, Dark Horse contender, the Manitou is
Okay,
a
okay.
fucking ride. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, it's very, this is such like, this is a my movie that like is a cult classic in my mind. It is paranormal, as in it's literally about a like shaman psychic battle
Mm-hmm.
over energy forces.
I mean, that is oh, here's the synopsis on Just Watch. A
Yep.
psychic's girlfriend finds out that a lump on her back is a growing reincarnation of a 400-year-old demonic Native American spirit. It's very paranormal. I mean, that's like
Yeah.
Amityville shit.
Yeah.
So I would say it definitely counts.
So do we want to go the mainstream, or do we want the weirdo option? Or I mean, because the other thing about Don't Look Now is very literary. Like it's like based on a book, has a certain expectation of like you want to find something that is really does the book justice. And I think the film of that does.
Yeah. So we did we've watched a couple of like really summer
Yes.
blockbustery movies
Yeah.
in Underworld and Insidious, and
Yeah.
actually Prey, a
Yeah.
couple movies back before that. Um, I think I think it comes down to saying like I think it comes down to Amityville Horror, Don't Look Now, The Manitou, right?
Okay.
Because Amityville Horror, a classic of like
Yeah.
schlocky, spooky, splattery horror.
And
Um,
I've only seen the like on TV edited version of the
okay,
original. And
Don't
it's been
Look
a very
Now.
long time.
Don't Look Now is a classic of just cinema,
Yeah.
right? It's a really amazing film and very sexy somehow, even though it's about a lost child.
Right.
Um, and then the Manitou, if we wanted to go full bonkers, and then 1408, I think works with this too. But I think those other three have like a
Like
higher
1408's a
status.
good movie, but it's not like a like I think we have better options than
Yeah.
1408 here.
Okay, Manitou or Don't Look Now.
Ooh. Oh God, Jeffrey, this is the hardest question of my life because I like highbrow cinema and I like campy, crazy cinema. I would say coin flip, unless you have an option, or unless you have an option that you would lean to the other.
Let's do a coin. I'll use my little Secret Service challenge coin we got almost 10 years ago
I
in
know.
Washington, D.C.
I have mine here as
All right.
well.
Star side will be the what are we doing? Don't Look Now. And the
Okay.
Eagle side will be Manitou. We got Star side. So we're gonna do Don't Look Now.
I think that is appropriate.
Yes.
I think that's very appropriate. I've never read the book The Manitou. I'm kind of curious, but
Yeah.
based on the
I
book Paranormal, I think this is a really solid choice.
I think it is too. All right, let's do that. Wow, that was tough decision making. So many good suggestions from everyone out there. So yeah, thank you all for listening. Thank you, Cecil, for talking with me. And if you have thoughts on Underworld or ideas for movies that would have been a great paranormal story based on a book, let us know on Instagram at Random Horror 9, or you can do that same handle over at Patreon, where we have public discussion threads for each episode for all of our members, including free members. So watch Don't Look Now with us this week, and come on back next Tuesday for a new episode. Have a restful night with no dead scientists dripping their blood on your sarcophagus or nothing. Boo.
Boo!